Hey guys!
Hello and good evening. You just missed round 2 over on Carissa's page.
Creative Green Living.
Creative Green Living. Was it on the page or the group?
On the page.
Okay, so if you wanted to see a bunch more fidget spinners tested, go there. This is round 3 tonight, Friday. I think it's Friday.
It is Friday. Still, barely.
And my husband's watching. Hi, dear.
So, to intro, if people are new.
Yes.
This is Tamara of TamaraRubin.com. She's the Lead Safe Mama. And I'm Carissa Bonham from CreativeGreenLiving.com. And we are testing fidget spinners with an X-ray fluorescent spectrometer, which is a $50,000 scientific instrument that Tamara is trained and certified how to use.
Yes.
And we are here in our secret laboratory.
And just a little background, because I don't always give this, is that I'm a mother whose children were poisoned. So my children tested positive for lead, so I've become a internationally known advocate for childhood lead poisoning prevention. And I'm trained and certified in using this instrument, which is a scientific instrument, and this particular one is probably only like a $20,000 instrument. The one I want, you can see an XRF for Tamara post on my blog. It's the $50,000 one that I want. And actually with the software, it's like $65,000, but it's not ready yet. Anyway, they're not selling it to consumers yet. So as soon as they do, someone buy one for me, okay?
Yes.
Anyway, so this tells you instantly if it has lead, mercury, cadmium, arsenic, whatever you point this at, it'll tell you what the metals are in it. And so we're going to test these fidget spinners. We have a here. One thing I wanted to point out is that we've already tested a whole ton of them. And so we had 11 tested for really high lead, 2 tested for low lead. So a total of 13 were positive for some level of lead. And then we had 5, 10, 15, 19 that were unleaded. And so we kind of are getting a sense of which ones have lead and which ones don't. And so this one, let's read about it. It says glow in the dark, made in China, hand spinner. And this is from Aya. Aya sent this to us from Pennsylvania. Thank you very much.
Packaging looks like. All right.
And I tested several of the components already, so I'm going to just do one last test on this. And these are what my son calls the boring ones. Yeah, well, in general.
The one we're testing is a boring fidget spinner.
Yeah, the ones that have the solid plastic, and it's all one color. And the ones that don't have the lights are testing negative for lead. So this one right here is testing negative for lead on all the components that are accessible with the XRF. So outside of whether or not it's a choking hazard or has other problems, this appears to be lead safe or lead free. So we're going to add another lead free hashtag mark, whatever mark. So that gives us 20 without lead. And then we're going to test this one. This one was sent to us from Connecticut. And it's interesting because we've got these 2 boxes and they're slightly different, but they're also slightly the same, and they're made in China, and this seems to be like the generic
made in China packaging.
Most popular type of fidget spinner, as opposed to the luxury ones we were testing earlier.
And these are light up fidget spinners, and so far we have had a 100% failure rate with light up fidget spinners testing positive for high amounts of lead.
Yeah, and the last one tested at like 3,000 parts per million. And I think it might depend, what side of the gizmo you're testing. And let me test over here, because it's the lead that's in the solder that's holding the little circuit board in place for the lights. Because I just tested this one just now while I was talking, and one side was super low for lead. And I'll show you that in a second here. On the other side of the thing, it was only 95 parts per million. But on this side, which has the little on button like you see on a computer, that side is testing for 4,254 parts per million lead. It doesn't have any mercury and it doesn't have any cadmium. And it might have mercury and cadmium if you open it up and tested. And it doesn't seem to have any arsenic either. But the problem with these, as we've said before, is they pop out really easily. Especially if you used them a couple times. And I'm not going to pop this out because it doesn't belong to me. I'm not going to pop it all out of the way. But the seam of this comes apart, and the lighting part with the LED battery, tiny batteries, come out really easily. Yeah.
Which is problematic too, in addition to the quantity of lead that is in these, that these could also be a hazard from the battery. If you swallow a button battery, it can eat a hole in your esophagus or in your stomach, even if it's lead free, just because it conducts electricity through the battery with your saliva, and that is a serious danger. It can literally kill your child, even if it's lead free, if your kids swallow button batteries.
Well, so this one's interesting. This looks exactly the same. The package is a little different. It has some more specifics of the, like the warnings or whatever all those things mean. And it says made in China, but this one was sent to us from Canada. And on one side, the first side, it's testing negative, even though, whoops, it came right apart. Whoop, there we go. Let's see if it shuts off. Yeah, okay. So now I gotta see. So this one is just coming right out. Whoops, it's coming apart.
It's falling apart.
It's new out of the package and falling apart all over the place. Let's see if I can, it's hard to say which side I tested. I'm gonna try, I might have to do 2 more tests. So this one's from Canada. The first test was negative, even though it was light up, but it is falling apart. I think, okay, so this side is negative. And Crystal in Canada, I might, since it already fell apart in so many ways, I'm gonna maybe see if I can
Dissect it.
take this apart really quickly. Yeah, it looks like it can, because you can see the seam on it. Oh, yeah, so the other side, just as consistent with this, the other side is testing positive. One side is higher positive than the other. So this is 1,570 parts per million lead on one side. And so we didn't add the last one, so we just did 2 more leaded ones, right? So now we've got 13 leaded, 20 unleaded, and 2 low lead, so a total of 15 that have some lead. And then the thing about these is they're being sold in some of the packaging as a safe alternative, because it says that the battery unit is contained. But if you look really carefully here, and I have nails that I'm afraid of breaking, so they might not come apart as easily in my hands as they do in my kids.
We did have one earlier that we popped apart really easily.
Yeah, let's see if I can. My son, I'm having trouble popping it apart, but my son got it apart in seconds. All right, here it goes. I just have to put my nail in the edge there, which I think is something that kids are going to be inclined to do,
Right.
and likely do.
I mean, there was a kid at my church on Sunday who had one that looked nearly identical to this, but it was blue. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting. I wonder what it looks like inside. And he's like, oh, here. And he just in 2 seconds, took the whole thing apart.
So there's the whole button battery LED unit, and I can test that separately.
Yeah.
Like I did with the pink one that started this whole fiasco of craziness, and tell you how much lead it sees testing the battery side directly and the non-battery side. So the problem is about ingestion, and
Yeah, with the batteries, for sure.
yeah, and so even if this side isn't testing positive for lead, this is the apparently unleaded side, which was the side with the batteries, that you still have the available batteries that can be swallowed. And I think so this is going to be the leaded side. We'll see.
Yeah, and these, these are small enough that I think that somebody could swallow it. I mean, as an adult, I think I can swallow this if I try really hard. I mean, it's about the size of a lifesaver. And even if, we've seen reports of children who have put the bearings that are about that same size in their mouth and have swallowed them, or they've gotten lodged in their throats, or all kinds of things have happened.
We did find lead. So that's interesting. So I just tested that, and I didn't come up with a high lead level. It's probably because I wasn't right on the part with the lead, and I'm not exactly sure which part that is. But here I'm testing it in the unit again, and it is coming up positive for lead through the plastic at 950 or so. The problem with some of the testing is that they do digestive sampling as opposed to XRF testing, and it doesn't necessarily come up with the same results. But I'm curious, one of these points has got to be a leaded point that...
I wonder if it's the part under the white.
Yeah, maybe. Now we're getting into technicalities, because it did test positive. We have that reading, right there. And we're just trying to find the specific place where it tested positive, which is a little trickier to do when you have it out of the casing. Anyway, so that then is the unleaded versus leaded on the fidget spinners, and we have a whole bunch more to test and show you, and we're going to write as many of these up in a blog post as we can, and we will let you know which ones we think are safe and unsafe. I think hands down we think that officially be unsafe ones, and no matter what, and the ones
Don't buy light up fidget spinners.
and the brass ones that have the center component is a heavy yellow brass is also likely unsafe.
Yes.
And the safe ones are the plain ones, the glow in the dark
The
ones.
quote unquote boring ones
Yeah, the boring ones.
that are plastic.
And
with
there's
metal
also some
mixed
really
in it.
cool stainless steel ones that you can see
Yes.
that video on Carissa's page.
Just be sure not to buy one that is stainless steel with a brass button
Yeah.
in the middle. So, cool. Well, thank you guys for watching. Go watch our other set of.
Wait, we've got Hella in Denmark. Why don't you write an article about the results for Consumer Magazine? Okay, you want to help?
Yeah!
Should we set? Oh, Hella, guess what? This is so cool. So, like, the national news in America doesn't give a flying F about all of this. And guess who called me? One of the national news stations for Denmark. They're going to interview me via Skype for Danish news.
I love it.
So you'll see that. I'll let you know when that happens.
Yes.
And they wanted to see the results of the testing we were doing beforehand. I spent my birthday with her in
Awesome.
Denmark.
Heyo. Hey, so if you guys have connections with the news for real, like this is a problem. Like if we flip this around, how many leaded versus unleaded fidget spinners? That's a lot of leaded fidget spinners. You know, like we're approaching probably about roughly 40% of the fidget spinners are coming up positive for lead. Love to talk to the Today Show or another Good Morning America or another news outlet to make sure that we're spreading the word and letting parents know which kinds of fidget spinners we're finding high levels of lead that aren't safe for their kids. So if you have any connections, please forward our videos. Watch round 1 of our fidget spinner testing on Misled, America's Secret Epidemic. Watch round 2 on Creative Green Living, and then this is round 3, and we are signing off.
Yep, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.